Hi folks, hope you're all keeping well out there. Today's video I want to cover another alternative social media platform, and this is the one based around the XMPP protocol. I'm not going to talk just about the protocol itself. I'm going to give a bit of introduction about where it fits in and especially with the Fediverse, and I'm going to talk about a few clients and what you can do with it. But the key thing I want to mention about it really will be that there is a social media aspect to it as well, not just chatting and presence. And I'll just finish off showing the Movim client and server application that provides some of this functionality. That's actually the app we're seeing on the screen at the moment. But I think before we get to that, let's just do the background around XMPP and how this fits in. And then we can jump into having a look at one or two applications. So XMPP is the acronym for Extensible Messaging and Presence Protocol. It's an open technology for instant messaging, presence, multi-party chat, voice, video calls, collaboration, lightweight middleware, content syndication, and generalized routing of XML data. Just remember, the extensible part means that it extends through extensions and plugins. So this is by no means all that it does. I know that most of us are familiar really with it just being a chat service and presence, as in you're online or whatever your status and that sort of thing is, but it's a lot more than that. And that's where it's taken me a little bit longer to dig through a bit more of the detail actually. So it's been around quite a long time. It started out back in 99 as Jabber, and it's been renamed. The foundation at that time renamed it then to XMPP in January 2007. So Jabber, that is still around. If you hear about Jabber, it's actually largely the name now used by Cisco itself. That's why most people refer to this as XMPP, but it is essentially the same thing. It's a protocol. The format is still called, funny enough, a Jabber ID. So the JID is the Jabber ID address. In my case there, you can see my name on the left, which is the node, and on the right hand side is the domain name of the server that I belong to. So you could actually set yourself up on multiple servers or anywhere. What is quite unique about XMPP is it's one of the few that you can actually create your account on the client itself, and it'll push it through and create it on the server. You don't have to log into the server to do it. But in essence, it is very much like an email service. So just like you've got an email address at gmail.com or whatever the case is, XMPP is the same sort of thing. You will belong or connect to a server, so it's a client-server type app, and you can move as well if you want to, but because just bearing in mind your domain name on the end will have to change. The other thing that many are familiar with is things like chat rooms as well. So you've got person-to-person type communications where you'll message or see if somebody's online, that sort of thing. The other thing that is common right across the XMPP platform and services is usually forms of chat room or group chat, and these can be public or private depending on how you've set them up. So for example, there's mine that I've got set up where I'm blogging to at the moment for Gadgeteer ZA Tech blog. The important thing is just to notice around this address. So this will be globally visible. If you're on XMPP at the moment, you can look this address up and follow it, and you'll get some of my posts that I'm doing. I'll go a little bit later into some of the pros and cons around what I can do and what I can't do with these chat room type formats. But why I wanted to mention it here is just that it is universal across the service. So anybody can create a group chat room, and whether you're going to be using it just to talk to people or whether you're going to use it like I'm doing to blog to, that's what you can use it for. And that's what most people are really familiar with around XMPP, I think. Then another thing just to mention is end-to-end encryption. So generally on XMPP, the two types that are being supported are OpenPGP, where you can load your own key into your client app, and more recently OMEMO, OMEMO, that actually synchronizes across clients and servers. So this one is used more recently and more widely than OpenPGP because you've got a bit more manual setup to do with the OpenPGP, but both are available, and I could use my existing OpenPGP key. As I've mentioned a little bit earlier about the extensible path, there's various XCP standards that are issued for XMPP, and there's a lot of them. And there's a standard for each service. So whether it's presence, multi-party chat rooms, pub sync, or just general syncing, and I've put the address at the bottom here. You can go and have a look at the various standards. The one I wanted to delve into a little bit though is the PubSub Standard. So this is the one I wasn't really aware of, and it's the one Movim has done a very good job of providing a full functional service around. So PubSub is actually, again, a protocol extension, and it's specifically for generic publish and subscription functionality, and it's specified by the XCP 0060 standard. What it's actually allowing though to happen is that you can create nodes or topics at a PubSub service and then publish information at those nodes, and it will notify people, so people that have subscribed. So that's why it says publish and subscribe there. People subscribe to that service, they'll be notified of posts, just like any blogging platform that you're familiar with on social media. So the functionality is all built into XMPP. It's all ready to be used. PubSub itself, it also enables a richer presence service. It enables, as I just mentioned, microblogging and social networking, but also things like Internet of Things, gaming communications, WebRTC, voice over IP, and a lot more. You know, if you think it's not just XMPP, XMPP has been sitting in the background, a lot of this functionality, but many of you will be aware of things like Google Talk. Facebook at one stage was also enabling, can you believe it, XMPP chat both ways. So if I was an XMPP, I could chat with somebody inside Facebook and vice versa. Of course, Facebook disabled that because the walled garden doesn't stand up to communicating more widely. But it shows what's possible with any social network service. It is possible for them to actually open up that type of functionality and then to communicate to the thousands of XMPP servers that are already on the internet, many of them private and many in organizations as well. I mentioned Skype as well, I think, and a couple of others. There's a good many services that do use XMPP underneath. In fact, WhatsApp itself also used a XMPP functionality for its live chat function. So, you know, you don't hear about XMPP much, but it's sitting in the background and powering a lot of things. The only condition is that the server and the client app must support this standard. So there are various servers, and I'll show some of them now, but they have to, it doesn't help the server's got it, the client doesn't support that standard, then it's not going to be able to talk to that service on the server, and of course vice versa. If you've got it on the client app, it's no good if it's not running on the server itself. So briefly, just for PubSub support itself, these are the servers, if you're installing XMPP, these are particularly the servers that do support the PubSub standard. Most people are tending to go for eJabberd. It doesn't use a lot of resources. It's relatively lightweight for the amount of people it supports, and each node or server instance can support up to 2 million users. You'll see if you look at eJabberd's website, there you can, one of the things you can actually enable will be PubSub support. There is another very popular XMPP server, I think it's Prostedy or something like that if I remember correctly, but I'm not aware that it actually supports PubSub. I'm not 100% sure. If it is, I seem to recall it also had quite a lot of manual setup around the plugins. And then on the client side, the ones that do support it, specifically Gajim, Movim has got its own app actually, and Psi. So what you're going to notice with these clients is, like this one may be for Movim. There is also another client for Android that's very popular, Conversations. They will connect to any XMPP service, no problems. Doesn't matter where you are and what address you've got, you can configure them to use. The only issue again is, I'm just saying, is if you want to use PubSub support, you must use one that is compliant. So it is only these ones. I am actually experiencing still though, unfortunately, a few problems that Movim's one access is fine to Movim, but Psi and Gajim are not connecting 100%. I was going to put the format of the Jabber ID for PubSubs. They are a little bit different, the format, but generally what you'll do is you'll use service discovery to locate them, find them, and subscribe to those services. So I will show you just briefly how they should work. They're not actually working very well, I'm afraid, for me. But the potential is all there. You know, if we can just get XMPP, I think, expanded more with more social networking, it could actually become quite popular. But before we dive into the client, what I want to just explain now as well is how does XMPP fit in with Fediverse? So let's have a look at that. So Fediverse I have covered in a couple of my other previous videos where I talked about Hubzilla. I've done a video on Friendica, I've done a video on Mastodon, and I've done videos on PixelFed and a few others. But just for the sake of those that haven't actually looked at it, Fediverse, the one big difference is it's based around the activity pub protocol. So it uses this protocol to communicate back and forth. It's also a decentralized type network, client server type. So your individual clients are not talking directly to each other. You are connecting into a network and a particular node where you belong. I could be on Hubzilla and I belong to this particular Hubzilla node. Then when I log in, I'll be logging in whatever I'm using to log in, I'll be logging into that node. Whatever I'm posting can be followed by anybody not only within the Hubzilla network at other nodes, but even at a node in the Friendica network or a node in Mastodon or a node in PixelFed. And that's where the federated approach comes in. It's incredibly powerful. Although the rule set and the rules regarding the topical matter of freedom of speech and privacy and all that sort of thing is whatever at node 1. It could be different here for node 3 because these are all run individually, even though they're Hubzilla nodes. They are separate servers run by separate administrators, but likewise for all these different networks. So PixelFed has got certain other functionality as well that Hubzilla doesn't have, but they all interconnect. Whatever post I make or whatever likes or favorites or whatever else I do will reflect at the original post wherever it's being made. So incredibly powerful concept, a lot of flexibility, and that's where the Fediverse comes in. But the key thing here is that everything is exchanged through the activity protocol. So for this node to make a post and to be seen over there, it's all working through the activity pub protocol, and that's what governs it and essentially defines or describes really what the Fediverse is. So let's have a look then at XMPP. So XMPP, the immediate thing you're going to notice first of all here is everything works through the XMPP protocol, and that is actually what's gluing or holding the whole XMPP together. So these particular Movim, for example, is a node, if you want to call it, all on its own for XMPP. It's got its own extension, what's the domain name, like I showed earlier, and it's going to have chat rooms, pub subs, blogs, user chat, whatever the case is. But the point is, whatever type of client I'm using, and there's a multitude of different clients, if it's this client, it's going to log in using the XMPP protocol and connect through to the Movim server, and that's where I will post, or I'll post in a chat room, or post to another user, or post a blog, or whatever the case is. This user over here that maybe say using the conversations client, they're going to come in through XMPP. They belong, for example, to this particular eJabbered server here. That's where they're going to log in and initiate things like chats or post into a chat room or whatever the case is. So if I want to follow that chat room, and this is my client, I will log in and I will initiate via the XMPP protocol. I'll be using discovery mode or whatever to find this chat room, subscribe to it, and that's how I will receive my notifications and be notified of any messages there. The important thing, as I did mention earlier, is they do need to subscribe to the same standards. By default, they all really essentially will support things like the chat rooms, user chat, presence notification, and a couple of others. But if we're talking about social networking, that's why I said you need that PubSub Standard. The only two that I'm really aware of that are doing it functionally is Movim, and this French one in the EU actually. I don't want to try and even pronounce that. Salut, toy, I think it is. I think it's high again, that stands for in English. That network, I did try and get into it. I just had some problems. I can show it to you here. This is their web page. And you'll see they do have things like create and manage events, organize your work with tickets handler, blog publicly. So they've got the PubSub functionality. I just had a lot of trouble trying to set up the client. I tried once or twice. I tried the mobile and I wasn't having a lot of luck. I just, I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong. And that's very sad because it looks like they're the other one with that functionality. So if somebody's got some ideas how to get it going easily, just let me know. I wouldn't mind actually testing it. So those are the two main ones. Anybody else is free to install and host their own eJabberd server. I think there are possibly Docker images even. I'm not 100% sure on DigitalOcean and one or two other services. But anyway, you can always install these very easily, even at home on an Ubuntu server or anything else. So anybody could host it. And you'd obviously want to activate then the social media and the blogging type functionality. So that really in a nutshell is that. The only thing I didn't include here is there are certain gateways, and they would be applicable on the server itself. So on Movim, for example, you'll see there is gateway functionality also to connect through to things like Telegram and one or two other services. In fact, it is possible then for services that are outside of XMPP to also send and receive notifications. Remember, everything is addressable through that Jabber ID address. So the Jabber ID address will know where it's got to be routed using XMPP, and that's what actually makes it a bit simpler. So I think then let's go and have a look at Movim. So Movim has got a very familiar interface, I think, for many. This is really what it looks like. Very familiar social media blogging type interface. I think they've done a very good job here. So you've got obviously yourself. You can see there's my address. These are some of the blog entries that I have made already. There's a bit of a profile as well. This is a personal blog post that I made just on the blog itself. You can see there is things like liking. You can comment, delete. Okay, obviously I can delete. I can edit as well. And there's a public URL as well you can share. And you can go to read more and you can get sort of the full post. So I think let's just go through some of the other options we've got. I'll come back to news just now. You've got Explore as well, where you can discover various communities and PubSubs and so on that are available. And you can see there's quite a lot. There you'll see mine as well. Shows you the latest posts. There's a couple of hashtags you can click on. That's who I'm subscribed to for updates and so on. And these are all the community servers. These are PubSub servers now. So in theory, you should be able to see these from clients outside of Movim. I am, like I said, just having a little bit of a problem with the discovery. But if you click on, say, news, you'll see under the news.movim.eu over there, that's its address, that domain name. These are all the various instances. And there's quite a lot of them. So don't say that there's nothing to follow or to do here, that's for sure. We can have a look at mine over here, the Gadgeteer ZA Tech blog. So you'll see it is actually presenting a full blog type post. There's a title field up here which is separate. There's the body text. I've put a couple of hashtags in, I put my link in, and I can also attach the link to the post, or you can attach an image to the post. Post is public, you can like, you can add comments, you can send it to someone as well. That is also very much the difference between the PubSub and the chat room. You'll see the chat room doesn't have some of the formatting and the other things that you can do. And normally if you're not subscribing, you've got the option to subscribe up there at the top. One other thing I want to show here though is you can also configure your chat room as to who can publish. I've got mine set up like a blog, so only the publishers can publish, and I am the publisher. You could also say subscribers can publish. That'll be anybody that follows if you wanted to, or everyone can publish, and it's open to anybody even if they don't subscribe to the feed. You've got a fair bit of control over that. That's quite useful. There's a lot more other additional options over here. You can switch on notification to subscribers. You can specify the model over there, the access model. That was the one we already looked at for who can subscribe. And then you can also update, obviously, the description, a friendly name for the blog, and that sort of thing as well. That is where you're going to set up, this is where you'll set up the roles. Obviously I'm the owner, but you'll have other types of roles like members, outcast, publish only, publisher. You can set up all these sort of things. So it is a proper sort of a social network type functionality, this. Other thing that I do like, and was quite unique around these blog type or PubSub type posts, is a public page. So the public page is this address here. If anybody was to type in this address, they would instantly find this blog right here, even if I don't have XMPP. So very, very easy to share outside of the network and to bring people in. You obviously can't interact here. You'd have to subscribe if you were a member of one of the other XMPP instances, and I'm still suspecting that it's only really if you're inside of Movim. Part of that problem is just compliance with the standards and things. It's not Movim that's doing anything particularly different that I'm aware of. The other thing is this on the right hand side here. This is an atom link for an RSS type feed. So if you were to copy this RSS link and gave it out to anybody with an RSS reader, they would also be able to subscribe through RSS to receive notifications of any posts that you've sent out complete. It should come complete with the images and so on in it. So very, very open and flexible. Then you can just show briefly chats over here. So the only disadvantage that we've got now specifically with Movim at the moment is it's not supporting the encrypted chats. It's not a functionality I think we can turn on here. Let me just have a look. No. So normally you would see it when you compose your message down at the bottom over here. There will normally be a padlock or one or two things that you can enable with most clients to choose either the OMEMO or OpenPGP. So what will happen is, just to show you it is properly encrypted. This is a conversation or chat I had with Matt a couple of days ago, and we were testing out the encryption back and forth. We were using Gajim and one or two other clients. So his messages arrived end-to-end encrypted, but because Movim itself hasn't got the decryption, that is all I see. I can't actually decrypt this message. And the same thing is if you add a client later on, you won't see the previously encrypted messages. It'll only start decrypting from that point onwards where you've added the client. So yeah, there you go. But that's the instant chat side. You have also got initiation of an audio call as well as a video call. That's already all built into XMPP and should work across all the various clients. It's not specific to Movim itself. So I'm not going to go through too much more on the Movim side. What I can just show is that any blog post that you do make, you can use all the various markdown codes to format your text and so on. So it is properly formatted. You can add a picture, add a link, you can draw in it, and you can also attach a file or attach a picture to the post. And then just remember, you probably have to mark it as public if you want it to be public. Otherwise, it's not going to be public. I've really got two places where I'm publishing at the moment, and I need to make up my mind which one I'm going to use. So I've showed you the fully formatted blog posts that I'm doing in the PubSub side. My only challenge at the moment is that this is not visible to everybody across XMPP. It should be in theory, and if something is sorted out with the compatibility on the standard, this should be fully visible, and I would much rather prefer to use this particular one actually. The other one that I can use is just the normal group chat, the public chat. And if I go to chats, this is on Movim that is, you can see there's Gadgeteer ZA blog, and you'll see what I mean. There's a particular post that I did. It's got no separate title, and there's no formatting at all that you can really do on the text. You can put the link in, but you'll see there's no attached image or anything else. This was really intended to be for group chats, and that's why it doesn't by design have all that formatting, the atom type feed formatting and so on in it. You could basically paste your message in. You can add stickers if you wanted to, and yeah, other stickers and so on, and that's about really it. I see you can actually upload one or two things to it, but in my case, I'm posting links and I wanted to actually have the link in. So format-wise, PubSubs are better for me. Group chat at the moment, unfortunately, is the one that's fully visible. So if you subscribe to it, you'll be seeing it. That's really the bottom line there. So I think we've covered really the server side of Movim. What I just want to show is the clients then. This is the Movim client on Android. And you'll see you've got the same views here on the feed. It is essentially the same sort of functionality that I've already explained, but this just showed you it is a very good looking app. It really does everything I think it needs to do. You can post at the top there with the same buttons. You've got a discovery, the discovery functions as well over here. You've got search. Notifications. So this works flawlessly across on a mobile device. At the moment, if I'm on the move, well, I'm actually not using Movim itself for this. I'm actually using the Conversations client, and I can quickly just demo the Conversations client as well. I was really trying to look at cross-platform sort of compatibility and interoperability. That's what I was really trying to look at. Obviously, if you use the Movim client to the Movim social side, it's 100% perfect. But what if you want to use other clients? So Conversations is one that I am using on Android. Reason also is it does fully support the OMEMO and OpenPGP encryption. So this I can use for my encrypted chat. So just to show you how that group chat room works, this is now the Conversations client, and that is my blog that is running on Movim. The one in the group chat. So this is unfortunately again no formatting, but it's publicly available. Anybody can follow it, and that's what it would look like if you were using a third-party mobile app. It's not so bad, you know. Maybe in the light of compatibility and being able to be visible and subscribed to anywhere across XMPP, I might have to use this one then for my blogging. And obviously from there you can post and talk to a contact. I can just have a look. You'll see there again are the options to make an audio call and so on. And you can choose what sort of encryption you've got, or unencrypted if the person doesn't support encryption as well. Or if I wanted to go post over there, I could now paste in here and post straight away to my group chat room that I've got running on Movim. Again, you can use the third-party client, no problem. Let's just have a quick look at one of the clients that I'm running on Linux at the moment. It's called Psi. A reason why I'm just running Psi is it's very, very stable and it's packed with functionality. So if you are a type of a super user, have a look at Psi. It's not bad. Menuing is a little bit odd maybe. It's not quite the same as a lot of the modern apps. But if I go look at options over here, for example, you'll see you've got, this is the roster, by the way, if you're wondering. You've got a lot of options you can set for the roster. You've got options for chat, for events, pop-ups, your various types of status messages, auto status, that sort of thing, appearance settings, icons, themes. For group chat, I can also do word highlighting, different custom sounds. You can change the toolbars, and these are some of the plugins that it's got available. So you'll see I have added the OpenPGP that I added to it. Quite a few of the clients, just remember that the OMEMO and sometimes even the OpenPGP is not by default in the client. You've got to activate a plugin or just install the plugin and activate it if it's not already available. You will find them in most of the clients. Shortcuts, miscellaneous settings, and then of course you've got a whole lot more advanced settings you can do for it as well. You've got various of your statuses. You can set custom statuses as well. You'll see, for example, down here, I think I've got thinking, out in Greece, that was there by default, watching a movie, whatever the case is. You can also get it to automatically publish whatever music you're listening to. So it's got quite a lot of social context, I think. What I did want to show though quickly was, okay, there is the join of the group chat. Now the group chat, remember, is the one that I said is publicly available. So you will put in the host's address. These ones that are conference.movim.eu are all publicly available, can be subscribed to by any client. So if you put that in, if you left this blank, it would browse and you could choose the ones. But if I just said join over here, you'll see again in this client, same thing. There's the blogs that I've been blogging on already. And you can see who's participants or subscribers in those channels already as well. But the other thing we can have a look at is this service discovery. This is PubSub service discovery now. So again, if I put in the main server, movim.eu over here, you could, if you know the node, you could just fill it in over there. But if you don't know the node, then you can browse. Gajim does exactly the same, but the only problem I had with Gajim was if you try to subscribe, it tended to time out and freeze, and it had a few stability issues I was a bit worried about. So if you look, there is one called alt.movim.eu. If you typed in there alt.movim.eu, it would obviously just show that to you. And you can go down. These are the chat rooms we just had a look at already, so they're also publicly discoverable. News is where one of mine was, and you can have a look here what happens now if we try to subscribe to it. In theory, this should work. Oh, I'm not going to find it. Let me just go here. So I've typed in the subdomain there as well. It gives you the information. Let me just move this a little bit. And you can see the various topics or node IDs over here. So if you go down now, you will find my one. There it is over there. So remember again, this is a third-party client. It's not a Movim client itself. It will expand. These are the various posts that I've made already, but let's stand over there. Typically what you're now supposed to do is right-click on there, and you can say add it to the roster. And there it is over there. But you see it's not really adding properly. What should happen now is if I click on this and I open it, it's not actually showing the posts. And you'll see it hasn't got the node in there at the moment. And it says it's offline. And it's not quite correct. Something is not quite right with the discovery, or I'm not sure if it's on the Gajim side or if it's something maybe on the Movim side that's not quite working, but I would appreciate anybody that can give advice or help around this. The theory should be that any third-party client that's got that support for the service discovery and the standard for PubSub, which this has got, Psi has got, you should be able to use this to browse, find what you're looking for, double-click on it to join it, and you should be able to subscribe to it. But it's only really working for group chat rooms. It's not working for the PubSub posts at the moment, and that's actually pretty sad, really. That is Psi. As I said, same functionality we saw earlier on. You will just see that this will also be decrypting because it has got OpenPGP and OMEMO support. I can just show you also briefly what Gajim looks like. This is also Linux. I think it runs on a few other platforms. But in essence, same thing. You're seeing who you've subscribed to or following. You'll see there it's got some updates as well for that, for my group chat stuff that I posted. So again, without the formatting. The other interesting thing, of course, with XMPP is you can have multiple accounts. Like I said earlier, you can set them up from the client side as well. But what is also interesting is they actually synchronize across the clients from the server side. So it will pick up all your various settings and statuses and so on. You don't have to set it up inside of each client if you set it up once already. Here is Gajim's discovery service as well. Again, I've put in there the main node, and you will see these are the various PubSubs that we've looked at a bit earlier as well. Comments.comics.alt.movim, news.movim, and that's where my one should be. But again, if I open it, it is browsing and finding the subscribing part is not working, and this thing's probably going to lock up just now. But in essence, you're supposed to be able to go there, click and say subscribe. Well, I do, but it doesn't subscribe. So something is not quite right. And it's probably now going to freeze up on me. It doesn't freeze up. It seems to do something very long in the background, and I'm not sure what it's actually doing. But yeah, that's in essence really that on the client side as well. So XMPP in wrap up really is really very flexible, very broad. Like I said, there's thousands of servers out there, lots and lots of clients as well. What I really would like to see is just seeing the PubSub side expanding a little bit, and it being certainly making sure that it is interoperable across the different clients, that you can subscribe easily to wherever the blog or the post is actually being subscribed. But as I showed as well, you have got the public page people can view from anywhere, and there is also the RSS feed that people can view. But you want to interact, you want to like a post, you want to comment on a post, so that functionality does need to be in the client itself. But I hope it has given some glimpse or overview of what there is available in XMPP, not only for instant chat and presence, but also for the publishing side, the blogging side as well. The chat side, certainly for many, it could replace your WhatsApp / Telegram / whatever if you wanted it to. You'd certainly be able to message. The only thing is just to remember that it hasn't got your telephone number and it hasn't got your email address. So it is not going to find and notify you that 20 of your friends are on. You're going to have to contact your friends, find out what their addresses are, and add them. So yes, it's very privacy based, not only from the encryption side, proper end-to-end encryption, but also from the aspect that it's not sharing address lists and other metadata. So again, that'll always make these types of services a little bit more difficult for the average user that just wants to jump on and find all their friends there. You're going to have to do a little bit of work. So it's either privacy and security, or you're going to have those things actually available. And then just a last note to mention, I'm hoping to do my next video on RetroShare, and that is a peer-to-peer social network. It's fully decentralized, no central servers. You literally are interconnecting via only peers that you trust. So unlike some where Scuttlebutt discovers and moves around between friends of friends, they call RetroShare sort of the friend-to-friend peer network. It all depends on who you've connected to. And it does offer some other interesting functionality that quite a lot of the other peer-to-peer or general social networks don't offer. The interface may be a little bit more dated looking, but quite an interesting social network to look at. So I should be covering that maybe in the coming week or so. I've just got a few things I want to finish on it, and then we'll be ready to do that as well. So I hope you found this of some interest, and you can have a look at my address that I did give in the beginning there. If you are on XMPP, follow me or join me there as well, and follow my blog. And if you've got any opinions about whether I should post to the chat rooms, the group chat rooms, or whether I should stick to the blog posting with all the nice formatting, you can respond to me on XMPP then. And otherwise, keep safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.